They say you are what you eat, so I don't eat chicken feet. But I love me some of Grandma's pickled beets. Well, cut it up, put it in the pan, throw it over your shoulder and see where it lands right here in Farmer's Kitchen. Maters, taters, beans and corn, the cows in the barn and the sheep's been shorn, kids in the barnyard chasing Grandpa's chicken. Spices, slices, cuts and dices, gonna slash your grocery prices right here in Farmer's Kitchen. Help you grow your garden good with recipes to suit your mood. Try some grub you've never tried before. Smash it with a wooden mallet. Gonna educate your palate. Right here in Farmer's Kitchen. In Tim Farmer's Country Kitchen. We're gonna cook something good now.
Hello and welcome to Tim Farmer's Country Kitchen. Well, hello, Mrs. Farmer. You look ravishing as usual.
Thank you. You look very handsome yourself.
Well, how about that? You know what? This is our season opener.
Okay.
Our season opening show. Our 6th.
Wow.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that possible?
It's possible.
You know what? Over this past 6 years, we've got a lot of input from a lot of folks. Mm-hmm. I mean, millions of compliments, ideas, so on and so forth. And when you have that much stuff out there, like on YouTube and the number of shows that we've done, we're not quite like your normal show. Most shows have 12 to 17 shows, and then they go into a rerun season. Now, we are going to have the occasional rerun because it's impossible to do 52 shows. We just can't do it. But we still have probably 40 new shows per year. That's a lot. But during that amount of time, you can kind of say, okay, over this amount of years, people say, we like that, we like this, please do that, please. And we've got a massive amount of analytical data from YouTube, who watches what, so on and so forth. So we have figured out that they like when we're in the cabin, they like when we're out front cooking, they like when we're in the woods doing fun stuff, close to the land, the farm, all of this kind of stuff, which was the original idea. And we tried some other stuff to see if you liked it, and we really have found out what you want, and we're so happy for that. And you remember how we used to do our little mail call? Mm-hmm. Listen to this right here. It's time for Country Kitchen Mail Call, brought to you by Nikki's Tiny Piano and Our 3 Hands. Okay, now, it's not traditional letter, but back in the old days, if you wanted to talk to a show, you sent a letter in.
Right.
So if they sent us, even if it's social media, such as from Daniel and Tricia Gibbons. She said something to the effect that she was watching our show on maple trees, and she said she went up with her grandfather and he knew every tree, and she wished she'd have paid more attention. So you know what? We've got several just like that. People saying, hey, man, I really like the tree ID thing.
Right.
So you know what? We're going to do a little bit of that today. But being that it's our new year, our new season, we're going to make a New Year tradition for dinner. This is old.
Okay.
Recipes that go back, that are traditional, we like. Mm-hmm. Okay, now speaking of mail, we got something else from Dave Reedy. I was going to do this at some point.
Right.
But he said, how about a Hoppin John recipe? Now, he had one. Ours is different.
Right.
And because we have jowl bacon, we're going to go that route. But thanks for the idea. We do listen, and we do have a lot of fun talking back and forth to folks out there. Okay, now down south they have a tradition. It's a good luck meal they have at first year. What's it called?
Hoppin John.
Hoppin John. If you really look this up and take a look back, there's a lot of kind of variations on the history of this thing. But some people say there's actually a fellow in Louisiana who sold on the streets Hoppin John. Really? They said he had some kind of physical disability where he, I guess, had to kind of hop.
Okay.
And he sold Hoppin John. Now, that's one of the stories, but I know it's been around since the 1840s, 1860s, so on and so forth. It's got a little Cajun thing going on with it. But it's totally delicious, and it's a full and total meal. Tonight, we're also going to do a little tree ID because folks asked for it.
Right.
And we put a little wood-burning stove in the cabin.
Feels good in here, finally.
It does feel good.
Nice.
Now, how hard is it to put a wood stove in? It's not that complicated. We're going to show you some quick and easy steps on how to install just a simple, this doesn't have a blower on or anything. It's, in the old days, it had been a potbelly stove. But we got two little things on top where we can cook.
Wow.
If it gets nice and hot in the wintertime, we can actually cook on top. But we can set a skillet. I made sure that we had two little burners on top. So they're not burners, they're just on top of the cast iron. But anyhow. Okay, before we get to our Hoppin John, because a lot of folks have been asking for us, they saw me identify those trees the maple trees. So let's real quick talk about some of the oaks you might encounter in Kentucky. I found these within spitting distance of each other. This is an oak. This is an oak. You want that on your table inside.
I like that. It's pretty.
And this is an oak. All right. This has probably got the most unusual name. This is a chinkapin oak. Now look at the leaves. Very distinctive shape. When you're walking through the woods, they do produce an acorn, like we hear.
Yes.
Every time you hear that noise tonight, it's going to be acorns. And that's one of the trees here that produces our acorns. And here's some of the acorns right here. We'll take a look at those in a minute. So here is your red oak. Now look, they have a sharper end to each leaf. So this is what your red oak tree looks like. Now you could have a pin oak, which is in the red oak family. Also a black oak is in the red oak family. Doesn't make sense, does it?
No,
But anyway, that's what a red oak looks like. Now, white oak.
those are the pretty ones.
Now see that one? See how they're more rounded and a little larger leaf? That is your white oak. And deer love acorns. I have put food out for deer because it is legal in Kentucky.
Right.
And I'll watch them walk right by that to my stand where they have plenty of acorns on the ground. Absolutely love them. So let's go outside real quick before we get our recipe started and show you the bark. We've shown you the leaves, now we're going to show you the bark. All right, now we've talked about the leaves, and we had people asking, don't you think it's cool?
Yeah.
That people are getting back to the old ways and are wanting to know things like this? Most people know, most of the old timers know. But let's talk about bark. Okay, we've seen the leaves.
Right.
We've got a few right here. So we already talked about that. So you see the lobes instead of the points? That is a white oak. See how more light colored that is?
Yeah.
Now look back over our shoulder, and there is your red oak. See a darker gray color?
Yeah.
Now, this is what I want in my woods because I want to feed the critters.
Okay.
Plenty of acorns everywhere. Now, let's talk about what's right over here. This is a chinkapin oak. Let's take a look at that.
Chinkapin, really?
Yes. You know what this is?
Ash.
That's an ash tree. You see that? We did not cut that. That's what's happening now. These things are breaking up. They're getting brittle. It doesn't take long. That's probably been dead. Now these ash borers came in years and years ago.
Right.
And they were working before we even knew they were here. When we started seeing little purple boxes hanging up above the highway up there, they had pheromones in there that would attract that species to that to see how many there were. This was ground zero. Franklin County had these things loaded up. So now the woods are kind of dangerous. So even when you're cutting these things, we've talked about this, when Nick and I are cutting these, we have more than one person because these tops can break out on you as you're cutting them. A little bit of movement will just knock the top out. This happened right here. Probably a little bit of wind and boom. So be careful when you're cutting ash trees because people are getting killed in Kentucky and around where this thing has happened. You look like you're cold.
I am cold.
Want to go back to the warm cabin?
I would love to.
It's warm for a reason, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Let's go. I was talking to some old timers about the old days, about back during the Depression when they really had to make food count. I heard one elderly lady talking about the fact that they ate potatoes because they were cheap. And they used the fat, the stuff that they normally would have thrown out, they wouldn't. She said they got fat during the Depression.
Potatoes, yeah.
Because they would take their potatoes and they'd put them and store them all winter long, and they ate a lot. The potatoes are cheap.
Yeah.
Even if you didn't grow them yourself, if you bought them at the store, you get a huge bag for like $1 back in the day. Now, $1 was a lot of money back then. So these are recipes. We're going to bring you some stuff that's really old that we've researched. You get a recipe next week. This is absolutely outstanding. Think about the starches and the carbs and the things you need to go out and work.
Right.
We've been doing some research on some really old stuff. Election cake.
Yeah, it sounds really good too.
Back from the 1700s. Just cool stuff. So anyhow, we got a really fun season coming up for you. We got so many exciting things happening. We're on the right path, and we're so happy to have you with us. So let's go ahead and do this. Now we got ham hock, we've got jowl bacon, and we've got smoked bacon pieces. I'll tell you what, let's go with the jowl bacon and the smoked stuff right now. We might save that for something else.
So this one right here?
Yeah, and we're going to go with about a half a pound of meat, if I had to guess. All right, now, if you don't have jowl bacon or you don't have a ham hock, you can use bacon. But this is parts and pieces that normally you might cast aside. Some people do, we don't. Back in the old days, they didn't waste anything. If you're using bacon, I would get the thick sliced, and I would probably use about a half a pound. Black-eyed peas.
I love them.
I was in Tuscaloosa, Alabama one time with some friends of Mom and Dad. They lived in, looked like a mansion to me. They had the big magnolia trees outside. So they brought out black-eyed peas. I'd never had them before. I thought they were beans. And so I took a bite and I was like, interesting flavor. Never had them before, but that was in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. You're going to have black-eyed peas.
Right.
So I really fell in love with those, and that's a part of this dish. This is your first step. Let's take a cup of these. Now this is enough for about 2 people, maybe 3.
Right.
Let's take a cup, put them, just cover them with cold water, set them on the stove, and boil. Bring them to a boil. Shut them down, leave the top on for about an hour to 2 hours. I'll let them go a little bit longer. Come back later and you got some softened beans ready to cook. I would rinse those at this point, which we've already done.
Yeah.
Rinse those, separate out anything that might not want to be in there, and then you're ready for the next step. So now we're going to leave just enough drippings to cook our onion and our garlic. We're going to take, 2 cloves of garlic. We'll cut those up real fine, and we'll cut these onions up into little fingernail-sized pieces.
Eyes are good.
How about they are? I got your chopper.
These glasses are working good. Would you like to borrow them?
No, go ahead.
Put them all in?
Yep. Okay, now there's a billion recipes out there that you call Hoppin John. I tried to go back as far as I could go to get the original recipe. This is the closest I could find. Now we added the celery. It wasn't in the original recipe.
Some people do green peppers, I noticed.
They do green peppers. Some people add, like after the fact, sour cream.
I've never heard of this recipe, I'll be honest with you.
Really?
No, I'd never heard of it.
I've heard of Hoppin John my whole life. And I've made this, you just don't remember it.
Okay.
And what did you tell me you wanted me to make soon?
Green pea soup. Please, you make the best in the world. That's Kelly's favorite too.
All right, pea soup. Kelly doesn't even like peas, and she likes
the
pea
soup.
Should I share that one?
You should, because
that's a secret. That's top secret.
No, that's a good wintertime. Wonderful wintertime.
That's coming up. All right, so once you get these just about done, which we're just about there. In fact, we are there. The next thing we're going to do is add 2 cups chicken broth.
Yeah.
We're going to deglaze, get all that good stuff off the bottom. Do you smell that?
I am starving.
Next thing we're going to do is we're going to add black-eyed peas. And we're going to add our pork back.
Yeah.
We're going to stir that up. Going to let that cook for about an hour and a half.
Okay.
You know those beans. We don't want to bring it to a boil because it'll cause the beans to basically pop their little hides off. We don't want that.
That's not good.
So we're going to let that cook down. While we're doing that, you've heard us talk about trees and identifying trees. When you're living on the farm and you got trees, firewood's an important thing to have. If you wanted to drop a little stove in your cabin or house, it's not that big a process. You got to cut a hole in the wall, obviously. But when you go to the store and you start looking around at a stove, when you see the stove sitting there and it says 300, 800, 1100, understand that that's the price of the stove.
Right.
Okay? Now, your pipes and your double-walled stuff, it's going to cost you a little bit more. So figure on at least to get out the wall or through the roof, it's going to probably cost you another $300 to $400 minimal.
Right.
And I have looked and I priced it out from several different places. Tractor Supply had the best buy, so that's what we did. And we looked at the kit and we compared kits out the wall with everything included. The pipes you just screw into each other. I would recommend that because it's got everything you need to go up and through and or out through the roof, however you decide to do it. And that depends on your particular situation. But let's show you how fairly easy that is to do. And then we'll come back, we'll light a fire and see if it drafts. That's the most important thing. Now let's get our old buddy John Akers. Remember who built the smokehouse?
That's right.
Get him out here and let's do a few simple and easy techniques to get your fireplace set up. Not that bad. John Akers is back. John Akers was the dude that came up here and helped me with this smokehouse. Well, I shouldn't say help me, you did it all.
You watched.
And it works really, really well. I'm going to do something else today I want no part of for a one-armed dude. You know what? We're up here at the cabin. Let's talk about the ins and outs, the simple process of putting in, it can be simple or not so simple, but putting in a wood-burning stove. Now that may sound simple, but a lot of people have never done this. So you can go a lot of different places and buy your wood-burning stove. I chose to have a more classic style. I was going to get an antique one, but I couldn't find one to suit me, so Tractor Supply. They had the whole kit. The kit makes it a bit easier, but tell us the basic things you have to get this whole thing started.
Well, the stove.
That's a good thing to have.
The pipe. Now, but the process is a safety process.
Yeah.
People will put in stoves all the time. You hear about people burning their houses down.
We don't want to
the
do
next
that.
day. So follow a process of being safe and making sure that your pipe is installed where it's solid sound, not going to move, and it's the proper pipe for the proper areas. You know, there's single wall, triple wall, so when you apply it the way it needs to be done, and you'll see this in the process of this, that it's as safe as anything, and it's a great, cheap source of heat. Putting a stove in your house and putting pipe on it doesn't just make it work. There's a lot of detailed applications you've got to follow and think about that are almost chemistry with it that have to be correct, or a stove won't draw right. It won't function right. So there's a process.
And there's nothing, I don't care what you say, there's nothing like wood, burning
it's a
wood,
good
it
warm,
sinks in your
warm,
bones.
moist heat. Yeah, that's good.
Let's go get it done.
All right, I'm deal.
Start a fire.
We drilled a pilot hole in the logs so we knew our center punch. That center punch, I marked the diameter of the double wall pipe, marked it on the outside, and we cut it out. Chipped and cut, and as long as it was a little bit looser so the flange covered up any extra cuts, it was all fine. So now that we've got that, we'll set the dual wall pipe, the double wall pipe, the insulated wall pipe into the wall, so we don't have to be concerned about any kind of heat coming off that pipe and catching the logs on fire. We've got the stack off the stove set in place. We've got the elbow locked in and leveled. The extension into the double wall pipe that's insulated for the fire. And then we've got a cap ring that has locked all of them together and sealed up to make it all unable to separate and come apart. Any vibration or amount of time or whatever, it all is locked and staying together. We set that in place. We put the base bracket that holds the T that turns it upright that goes out the stack that'll extend through your roof.
You go up, they simply screw into each other, and you get to the top, put your top on, put your brackets outside, of course, to hold the pipes up, and there's one last little anchor you put on the top. And then when you come back inside, the last thing you do is fire it up and make sure that it drafts. Now what that means is make sure that you see smoke coming out and not filling your room. So now we have wonderful heat in the cabin. It's been about an hour and a half. We're getting all acquainted over here. The next step is we're going to put some greens in here. Now the old recipe called for collard greens, and whatever kind of greens you got to be fine. We've got meat, collard greens.
Does it matter what kind of greens?
These are actually baby kale.
Does it matter? So it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. And then we got our starch coming up. We got rice. You talk about a full meal. This is the kind of stuff when people worked, you know, they wanted to grab something that's going to keep them going all day long. All right, now what we're going to do is once our greens get in here and get going, we're going to let them cook just a little bit. Then we're going to come back with the rice. Now the rice is going to take, a good 20, 25 minutes to get it going. So if you'll hand me some salt and pepper. Now I'm following an old recipe.
So that's red pepper you're putting in?
This is a red pepper flake.
Okay.
You smell that?
I do.
It's not going to need more salt
No, I think it's delicious.
because of the ham.
Wow, that's
More
delicious.
pepper. Isn't that
That's
good?
good.
Need a little more pepper?
I always love pepper because Glenn suggests pepper.
And still all the pepper. You know he's up for parole?
Is he really?
Yeah. That last steamship from China, bringing all the black pepper.
Yeah, I remember that.
He actually took over the boat. He
Wow.
flew in on a helicopter. They dropped him in. He hijacked the boat.
Really?
42,000 tons of black pepper. Glenn
Is he never
stole.
going to learn? It's worth it to
He's
him,
up
is
for
it?
parole.
Okay.
And if you have no idea what we're talking about, we're talking about the Pepper Bandit. Glenn was on a ship with us taking a trip to Alaska. And we did a Tim Farmer's Country Kitchen culinary cruise.
Right.
It was so fun.
Yeah.
And we're probably, people have been asking us, we're probably doing one of
Another
those
trip.
again, not too long from now. But he said, man, do you have to put pepper in everything?
And that's made you go crazy the other way.
So we love Glenn and Patricia, and we have to rib him. Now, once those greens start looking like they're starting to cook, we're going to drop the rice in. 1 cup of rice.
Yum.
Now, to get that nice and cooked properly, I would say our rice needs to go 15, 20 minutes or so.
And then we can eat.
And we can eat.
Yum.
And that is almost a wrap. But you know one of the final things that we're going to do? Apple cider vinegar. That's going to go into the last minute. Last and final step.
I already snuck a taste. It's really good.
The salt is there because
Yeah.
don't forget now, don't overdo it on the salt because you've got the pork in there.
Yeah, it's delicious.
All right, let's go. Because we like vinegar, we know it's good for you. I think they call for like a teaspoon. We're going to go a little bit over there.
You don't need to have it with dinner tonight. It's in your dinner. You don't have to drink it.
It's the bonus flavor.
Yeah.
And we're going to mix that up. Ladies and gentlemen, Hoppin John.
I'm so
Hold your
excited.
bowl up.
I'm
You
so
are,
excited.
aren't you?
I am. This really looks
You're
good.
starving. That's got everything you need.
Wow.
That's that right there, seriously.
That's a meal.
That's the whole. If it wasn't for us doing the black-eyed peas, any other pan had been a one-pan deal.
So he used to sell this on the street. I could see. I'd buy it.
That was the legend. Now that's piping hot, so be
All right.
careful.
I'm okay.
Really good. You know what? One of the memories I have of going to Mama Parrot's house, or Papa Harlan's house, or Mama Lou's house. Vinegar.
Yeah, I taste the vinegar. It's really
I
good.
remember smelling vinegar all the time.
That adds to it. I like the taste of the vinegar in that. Do you?
Oh, wow.
That's amazing. Yum. I've never had this. This is really good.
You have. You just don't remember it.
Have I?
That right there is hard to beat. How much of that could you eat, seriously?
I'll eat the whole pot if you don't. I could eat it all. Just let me eat it all night slowly.
Easy now.
I'll just eat bowl after bowl.
So what have we done tonight? We've made Hoppin John. We've identified a few trees. We have a wood fireplace now.
Yay.
For all the times we're up here telling you stories. Now, if you want to see a how-to or a recipe, where would you go, Mrs. Farmer?
I go to timfarmerscountrykitchen.com.
Would you really?
I do. This will be on there, won't it?
This will be on there. Everything we do after we air the show, after it's first airing on Saturday nights at 7
Right.
o'clock, we post it on YouTube for you to watch. We have gazillions of things for you to look at there. And when you go in to look at YouTube, make sure you click subscribe.
That's right.
That lets you know every time there's a new video out. It lets you know that you can watch it. So hit subscribe on YouTube and then go to our Facebook page, Tim Farmer's Country Kitchen. Like our Facebook page. All you got to do is hit like. Let's talk back and forth. Now, every now and then, it may take us a while. Sometimes we're on the road 2 or 3 days.
That's right.
But we will always try to get back with you. And that being said, I guess it's time to say it's all about
Good times
good friends.
and really good eats. I'm starving.
It's our new season. We'll see you next week with a brand new show. Eat up, Nikki. You have all you
love
want.
it.
To order a cookbook, please call 502-319-0487 or email timfarmerck@gmail.com. Special thanks to CKY, Canoe, Kentucky, Furniture World Superstore, Housewarmings, Lodge Cast Iron, Tater Knob Pottery and Farm,